complex, and some are multiple temple centers. So there are multiple temples, and then all of them get connected to each other. We also have single fountain temple like dedicated to Shaivism or Vaishnavism. Likewise, we have a hierarchy in terms of the axial or the combination of temple which is placed. So reinforcing symbolic structuring of the integrated form is what happens in the temple town. So looking at this, some of these towns have a national importance, and few of them are actually very important for the post-death rituals. That's we typically term as a pindadan or ashes immersion. So to take an example, Varanasi is one of the best examples. Along with that, Haridwar, Gaya, Rameshwaram, Allahabad, few national importance temple towns dedicated for the post-death rituals. Likewise, we have regional towns also which have the importance. To name a few, we have Mandi in Himachal Pradesh, which is termed as the Varanasi of the hills or the Choti Kashi. And Kashi is another name for Varanasi because it houses a series of temples in the similar Mandi is housing temple. Similarly, the temple in the south, the Pureshwar temple, which is known as the Dakshina Kashi. So likewise, we also, so all these temples, which were once a thriving temple town, have experienced a decline due to the out-migration and the effect of globalization. While national temple towns have seen a revitalization, renovation projects, similar interventions are not seen so much in the regional temple town, and that's the reason we have picked up a temple town, which is also Kashi of Vidarbha. That's Pauni, and it's located at the bank of the river Vainaganga, and Vainaganga is the auspicious river. Like we say Ganga is a sacred river, likewise we say Vainaganga is a Ganga of the south. So, and this particular town is located adjacent to that area, and it has a lot of importance with respect to the location. The proximity to different places have been mentioned, and that's a location plan. I'll just move to the next. So this is a well-known town, trade center for agriculture, forest, and manganese produce from in the surrounding villages, and this is a trade town. And just look at the way the traditional town was designed. If we have seen the ancient town planning architecture, so they have used a Khajuraho plan design for this particular temple town, which had a medieval typology of the temple town, and we have a fortification and the moat, which is protecting the fortification. And on the other side, we have a river. And there's a very interesting story about the river, but it's not just a river. The way the river is flowing, Vainaganga, it's coming from north and it's going to south. South is also a place of Yaksha. So it's post-life, that's what we presume. And it's then turning towards the east. East is the area where we say that it's giving us energy and life. And that is also the reason it's supposed to be, the location is supposed to be a sacred location. So that's also the thing which we got of an importance. We tried to pick up some demographic information about it with respect to sex ratio, literacy rate, and so on. We have also tried to study the historical presence of this particular settlement, and we found the traces can be seen way back during the Buddhist period, where in this particular place, in the excavation site, they found a lot of pillars and columns which had a representation. There was a stupa which is present in this particular place. In the medieval period, it got an importance, and during the Bhosle regime, a lot of temples were constructed. Bhoslas in the central India were known for the patronage, who were making a lot of temples, forts, and a lot of art and architecture across the central India. So this was also a place. This place was one of the flourishing places, and during their time, the population was actually something 60,000. That's a big number for the settlement to have a size. So that's also the importance part of it. But then British came in picture, and the whole settlement started declining. The settlement was also having importance with respect to the location, all the things which I have already told you. And it houses 150 temples, 5 ghats are there. Then there are 10 Garud Stamba. Garud Stamba is again very interesting column which is made in metal and supported on the stone base with a Vaishnavic typology. And they were this, they was very sacred to the community. The community were coastal community, which was known for the handloom product, and that was also reason for the flourishing of this particular settlement during the Bhosle regime. But then post-Bhosle or during the British period, these communities started migrating because the importance of this town started getting down. So that was also a reason why we have picked up this particular place for this time. And it also is a place of festival and the folk performance happens at this particular place. So we found that the settlement, which was 60,000 at one point of time, suddenly the settlement size in 1900 became 10,000. So what is the reason why the settlement is getting declined? So we wanted to know the things, so we started investigating in this particular settlement, and we did the study of the water bodies, what are the different water bodies which are there, and we found they are important. The river itself is very important. Apart from that, the city is made up of multiple man-made ponds. So that also participated. There's a Bosekpur dam which is very nearby, and it's said to be one of the biggest in Maharashtra. So there's a canal which is moving from the southern side of the city. So all these things got an importance to this particular settlement. Then we also did a study of ghats, and we found there were around 5 ghats which were very important, and within the span of around 1.5 kilometers. And interestingly, we also found that the first ghat, which is on the upper elevation, was for the royals, and as you go down, it was for the cattle and horses, then it was for the common man, and finally, towards the end, it was the ghat which was for the death ritual activities. So that's how we have also placed it very interestingly in the hierarchy format. So these are different images of different ghats which are there. Then we also understood the Garuda Stamba, and we listed down there were 10 Garuda Stamba. Actually, we had a feeling that there must be some cosmology study which must have gone in placing these Garuda Stamba, though we couldn't find it. But then we said that we'll be trying to figure it out, looking at the location. Can you just relate where we are located? So we found 10 very interesting pillars. Then we had series of temples. So 150 plus temple, but then most of the temples were privately owned or they were in the dilapidated condition. So we couldn't figure out all the temples, but we documented around 20 temples. So few of these can be seen here in the images. And there were temples like Ganpati temple, a different type of Ganpati temple. Teen Mukh Ganpati temple is also here. There was one interesting Ganpati temple. The moment we entered in that settlement, there's a temple. So with an idea for any, if you want to start any good thing, we pray Ganpati. So that's the entrance for the Ganpati temple. And then there was one towards the water body, towards the bank of the river. And there was very interesting connection with this first Ganpati temple to the last Ganpati temple, where during the war time, this two can be connected. So the soldiers can actually move from the first temple. There was an underground tunnel, and they can go to the last one, and from there they can, through the water body, they can actually move out of the settlement. So such an interesting design and planning could be seen here in the Pauni town, which in fact was very interesting to know and do the further study. Then we also studied the fort wall. I just discussed about it. It's a typical moat wall, a moat and stone-made fort wall. Currently, a restoration has happened. There are 2 gates, so restoration has happened for one of the walls, one of the gates, and the excavation site from where we started. So this was the footprint where it was told that this had a 2nd century BC footprint could be seen here. Then not only this, we thought it's because it's a town, we should be looking at the infrastructure. So we did an analysis of infrastructure for water, stormwater, sewerage, and solid waste infrastructure. We picked up certain indicators for the assessment, and we tried to evaluate it on a 3-pointer scale from very good, average to poor, and we gave a numbering to it, and we found that after doing the complete calculation, all the red ones are very bad in condition, the green ones are good, and the yellow ones are average. So with this we found the infrastructure position was around 2.2 to 2.5. So there was a need for intervention in infrastructure also. And because it is a town of importance, suddenly it so happens since last 10-15 years, government is also trying to invest here. So they have also taken some interventions in terms of improving the basic facilities in the town. Then this whole study we felt that it's so neat, there's a need to understand what is this, what is it and why is it. So we understood that there's a lack of tourism development because the city, the town, as I've told you, after night kind of tours happen, so every day there were around 600 people visit the city, and during festival the number increases to 30,000. So that's a big number. So, but the tourism opportunities is less, so we found that there's a lacking of tourism opportunity. Then there's a deterioration of the water body which is happening. It had multiple lakes. Lakes are not in very good condition. Then encroachment and unauthorized construction was happening at multiple places. Deterioration and destruction of the heritage site was also a thing which we observed. And there's one important temple which is a Vajeshwar temple. It had beautiful architecture and beautiful deity also inside it. And the authority there actually painted it in those bright colors, and they were so happy that we had painted this. And we were like, oh my god, what has happened to that temple? So that's a condition. So we feel that the sensitivity in terms of restoration is also missing. So that's a deterioration and destruction of the heritage site. Then improper conservation and maintenance technique, and lack of strong and financial model was also which we felt, and lack of economic opportunities which otherwise would have come to this particular thing. So we also found that these were the issues, but the city also had, the town also had a lot of potentials. So quickly to tell you about the potential, it had a natural beauty, water body, and beyond that there's a forest. And there's Kosekut Dam also, which brought it as a very interesting location. Cultural heritage, divine spirituality could be seen, and the historical study which I've already told you, the sacred place for performing last rites, and the floating population which was also there, which shows that it has a potential and the proximity to important locations. So we thought, let's have the intervention. So we took our intervention taking into consideration cultural and social value, urban livability, and economic growth, and which we again categorized under three heads, which is known as city, precinct, and heritage buildings. So these will also bring the economic opportunities. So in terms of city, what we have tried to do is majorly talk with respect to the provision of improving the infrastructure and institutional support and partnership and technological interventions. Apart from that, we also did some interventions in terms of present, which Suraksha is going to do.
So coming to the present level intervention, so here we have identified certain areas within the entire town where the first intervention was to do a heritage trail. So the first aspect of the heritage trail was to create a circuit around the temple town. There are two circuits that we have created. Now I will be discussing about circuit number 1. So circuit number 1 here starts from the fort wall, entrance of the fort wall, and ends at the Radhika Ganpati temple that here are highlighted in yellow, if you can see on the map. So here the trail begins. It has a combination of walking trail and also vehicular based trail where electric vehicles are also implemented here. So in one of these are how the trail was designed across the entire study area. So I will be talking about the trail which basically discusses about the journey from birth. So here in this trail we have identified two architectural preservations that could be taken up. So in this, the first element that we will be discussing about is the Baitala Crescent. So this Baitala Crescent is a small temple that is at the beginning of the trail. So in this, you can see that the temple is right next to a talab or a small pond. So we saw the condition of the talab. It was in a very deteriorated manner, and the Garuda Stamba that was there had lost its importance, even though it was actually present very vividly. So what we did was, so we have designed the entire space, reorganized the space, and we have given the importance to the park. So coming to the second part. Second would be the Shastri Mandir. So here we have tried to do a circuit redevelopment where this would be connected to the Garuda Stamba, which is also there in that area. We reorganized the space through landscaping and also through designing the name plates and all those things. So we had to give the refurbishing of this entire area. The next one was to refurbish the guard area. So here this is the guard. This is the Diwan guard, which was one of the prominent guards where the horses were actually bought here for cleaning. So here we have tried to reorganize this entire place through landscaping and street lighting and urban scaping basically to give an importance and to reorganize the entire presence. The next part was to understand how to bring in the importance to the Rajasa Ganpati temple, and there is also one of the famous temples called the Muralidhar temple. So here you can see it is on the top. So ma'am was telling that there was a tunnel that was connecting the temple, two temples. So this is the temple. So we try to actually highlight that through architectural interventions, where we will connect that and add a cultural center to bring in that importance in that area. The second one was the second circuit here talks about from birth they move towards the journey towards salvation. So this circuit would be highlighting that. So in this we would be comparing two presents, two architectural places. So one would be to understand the Vaisheshwara temple and its present, and then also the last part would be ending up at the water body, that is the Palasamudra, which is also having a nearby water chest and farm. So in this circuit, in the first circuit, that is the Vaisheshwara circuit, here you can see that we have the Vaisheshwara temple and the Ram Mandir. It is a Vaisheshwara temple is known for its asking certain guard. So that to bring in that importance and to maintain, because there is a large crowd that comes into the picture, we had to reorganize that space. So these are some of the interventions that we tried out. And the next intervention was to preserve the waterfront development of the Palasamudra. So here we tried to maintain the ecological sustenance of that place along with promoting tourism. So this was the main goal of the entire redesigning, to have a socio-ecological corridor. So coming into the summarizing of all the interventions, the first one was to understand the cultural and social value to preserve that. Next was to preserve the urban livability of the place and to generate the economy of Pauni. So through this we identified it through building level, through present level and through city level. So with these three aspects had tried to cover the local identity and preserve the collective memory. It also enhances the social cohesion. So I'll be just concluding. So coming to the conclusion, this entire study gave us an identity to Pauni as a sacred location. Then the circuit 1 tried to cover the journey from birth, and the circuit 2 ended up towards the salvation, and also not just to promote the tourism, also for the local community. Infrastructure improvement was the need of the hour, so that we have covered through our study, and also through the tourism aspect, the economic upliftment should be done. So these are the references, and we would like to acknowledge the 4 people in the first image who helped us to cover the entire town and helped us document it. And along with Tanisha ma'am, me and ma'am and Akshay sir, we have done the entire documentation. We prepared a report for this study. Then